NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
As an adult, don't we all miss spring break? Nothing like taking a week off from all your responsibilities. Well, here's the next best thing for adults, a spring break from house payments. SaveWithConrad.com can help you get rid of all your credit card debt, just like that. We're routinely helping our listeners save $5, $6, $7, even $800 a month. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this, but check this out, no house payments for 2 months. It's SaveWithConrad.com.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Listen, y'all, it's real easy to get caught up in what everybody else needs from you. You know what I mean? Your friends, your family, the whole of the internet, if you're big on social media, people at work, you name it. It's easier to concern yourself with what everybody else in the whole world needs from you and never take a moment to think about what you might need from yourself. You got to learn to spend some time on yourself, guys. It's super important. If you spend all your time thinking about everybody else and only giving and never looking inward, it can leave you feeling stretched thin and burned out. You got to do some self-care. It's never been more important than it is today. Therapy can give you the tools you need to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others and not end up leaving yourself behind. Corey, you've had some wonderful experiences with therapy.
Yes, I have, and BetterHelp to be specific, and I'm so thankful for it that you're able to do it online because listen, everybody that has heard the show probably knows I've needed therapy for a long time, but only recently went a couple years ago, and I think a lot of it has to do with once I found out there was a service where I didn't have to leave my house, I didn't have to make any effort except for clicking a link. I was like, well, you have no excuse now, and I consider it one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life because finding out exactly what the problem was takes a lot of pressure off of you, just being able to go, oh, it's that, it's not, whatever. And also, the therapy and the tools that they give you as a therapist to like kind of maintain yourself throughout your life. I still use, my breathing exercises, and I've got a lot of other things that they taught me, and I have, now they're just subconscious, and that's just how I live my life. And I'm happier for it, and I live a more mentally healthy lifestyle. And if you want to find more balance, do that with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/POA today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/POA to get 10% off your first month. Sincerely, guys, you owe it to yourself. Treat your brain right.
All right, Airheads, let's do it. We're back in the virtual Airstream studios. It's time once again for Puttin on Airs.
Puttin on Airs.
Puttin on Airs. What is that voice?
That's a little, they're taking my job at South Park. They took our job. They're putting on airs.
They're putting on airs down there.
Yeah, boy, putting on airs.
Yeah, I have no idea why I spoke that way. I don't know why I speak most ways, most times. But anyway, here we are. I'm Trae. That's Corey. How's it going over there, Cho?
It's going good, and I would like to point out, because normally, and you obviously are keeping with the fashion, you're dressed all fancy. I normally dress kind of fancy, but I don't want everybody to think that this isn't on purpose. This is a Kentucky Derby hat, and to match it symbolically, a Pillsbury Throwboy T-shirt, the late great Jared Lorenzen. So I'm all things Kentucky in honor of the Derby this weekend. I'm great. Feel good.
I hope people remember Jared Lorenzen.
Me too. I'm making sure that they do.
Yeah, the Pillsbury Throwboy, the hefty lefty, the round mound of touchdown.
Just for my money, when I was that was like my. It might have been like my peak college football loving. I was like in high school. I was playing football, and like that fucking guy, like seeing a fat redneck play quarterback meant so much to me. It meant so much.
He's like, I'm also a pretty big fan of the Joker, Nikola Jokic in the NBA, because he were a fat kid. Now, then he grew up to be 7 foot, 100 and, massive and tough as nails and all that shit. But he's still like a bit doughy. He's not shredded or whatever. And if you see pictures of him, I said there's an infamous picture of him when he was like middle school age. And I swear the resemblance to me in middle school age is striking. Turned out pretty different for me. I didn't have quite the athletic glow up that he did, but I'm always
both jokers.
Always, yeah, we are both jokers. That's true. I've always had a fondness for any of the fats who make it in the sporting game.
And
'cause
let's
it's such a
face
rare
it, the
occurrence,
whites. You know?
Sure, yeah, gotta, love the whites, love the whites.
Everybody knows I'm kidding.
A white, well, sort
I'm
of.
just in sports. It is different. We're not
It's
as
a
represented
novel.
because we don't hit as much.
It's a novelty. Now, if
Yeah.
talking about quarterbacks, especially 20
Yeah.
years ago, not really, but
Yeah,
the
of course.
fatness is what did it. But yeah, I mean, a white cornerback was just drafted in the 3rd round, I think, in this draft, and that he's the first one since Jason Sehorn, who retired in 2001, I believe it was.
That's what it is. It's certain positions, and really, I was just going on the basketball thing. I forgot that we brought up Jared Lorenzen, but yeah, man, whenever there's like a fucking I mean, Christian McCaffrey, he means a lot to a lot of people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. So, the Kentucky Derby. I sort of missed it. Did you?
Yeah.
Did you miss it? What happened?
Well,
Some horse took it home.
I believe some horse took it home. I stayed at home. They had a Kentucky Derby party that my wife went to, but I opted to stay home with the baby, and I instead watched the 3rd round of the Wells Fargo Championship. I don't know who won. I assume that there was no, because this is when they find out if is this the last race of the Triple Crown?
No, it's the first one.
It's the first one? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't hear any news about it. The news I heard, and, content warning.
Mage. That's a little boring. It's just, the horse's name is just Mage.
Mage. That don't hit.
Yeah.
I like it
Not
when it's
like
kicked by a
country
box of rocks.
mage.
Yeah.
Plantation Mage.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like, just regular old Mage ain't really doing it for me, but I guess they brought it home. I've always wanted to go to the Kentucky Derby. It just go and just be as white as possible. You know what I mean? Drink some mint juleps. I don't even like mint, but wear a silly hat and, talk like a plantation owner or whatever for a while. And
mint juleps are gross.
Seems fun. I've never had one and I don't like mint, so I can't imagine I would like them. But
I was about to say,
when in Rome.
Yeah, I'm a fan of mint, and to me, it's one of them drinks where I'm like, guys, I think all of us agree that just straight whiskey would be better. You know what I mean? Like, let's just do that. It would be a fun experience for me and you to go to. I mean, one of the most fun gambling experiences me and you ever had was betting on a horse, but that was just, were we in a casino?
No, I was about to say, what makes that? You're right. That was a tremendous gambling experience, which it's only made more impressive by the fact that we were in an unused hotel room serving as the green room in a Jacksonville, Florida comedy club. So it was like a repurposed, like a Days Inn, repurposed Days Inn sort of, and it was a room that we were in, and we watched on I feel like it wasn't even a flat screen. I feel like it was like an old CRT TV or whatever.
That you roll in.
Yeah, one of those deals. We're watching, it was either the Derby, or it might have been the Belmont Stakes. I can't remember which one it was, but we were watching it. We had just randomly bet on the same horse beforehand, and then that horse ended up winning. And I mean, you'll get fired up,
dude. Now. I mean, we were slapping our leg, dude. Like, it was fucking crazy. But no, I think that'd be a fun experience for me and you to go to. Like you said, I mean, the Kentucky Derby on the offset seems like the perfect Venn diagram. It's fancy people, it's horses, it's in Kentucky, but you mainly only see the fancy parts of it. I think me and you would have to go like the Wes Welker route if we were to go there. Do you remember Wes Welker a couple years ago at the Kentucky Derby?
He did a whole bunch of Molly and was giving people stacks of cash and shit while twacked out of his mind at the Kentucky Derby. Yeah, of course I remember that.
So how I remember it being told was that, Wes Welker went, he bet, he won a lot of money, but he was on Molly or ecstasy, and as he's leaving, people were like, holy shit, Wes Welker, and he didn't want to talk to nobody, so he was just handing stacks of $100 bills like, here, take this, get the fuck out of my face.
I mean, obviously, I've never been, and I do feel like the outward presentation of the Derby is one of fanciness. But I know that one of the other 3 races in the Triple Crown, the Preakness, right? Mm-hmm. The Preakness takes place in Baltimore, Maryland. I've never been to that either. But this comedian named Ryan Sickler, who's from Baltimore, I've heard. Ryan. Yeah, he's awesome. I've heard him talk about the Preakness. He used to go when he was younger, and dude, to hear him tell it. It's fucking trash all the way
Talladega.
Down. Like that, like it's just wild as fuck in the yard or whatever in front of that place. They do this thing called the running of the Johns or the running of the some turlet word where they they get drunk and run across the line of porta potties, like while people are in the porta potties, and people down below try to hit the runner with cans of beer or something like that to knock them off the porta potty or something. And that's like, well, of course, maybe half drunk, I don't know, but and that's like a yearly tradition at the Preakness. So like, there's got to be some trashiness going down at the Derby. There's got to be.
Oh yeah, for sure. In those bottom seats, or no, actually, I guess the top seat. I don't know. Like, it's weird whenever I see like pictures of the Derby, like they'll show like the nosebleeds, and it's a bunch of people in seersucker as well. Like, I don't know where the trash. Maybe the trash is like they don't even get seats. Like they're just like standing room only in like a pit.
Well, I'm just basing this on what I would do, but I bet a lot of the trash gets gussied up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. One outing.
So they're just like jumped up trash, pigs with lipstick on.
Yeah. The only thing I heard about the Derby, and this is Derby related, but it was actually before the Derby, was that, and again, content warning if you're squeamish around animal death, that apparently 4 of the horses died the day before the Derby.
Is that a lot? I mean, it sounds like a lot to me.
The thing is, it sounds like a lot to me too. And like, I really wish I had this pulled up, but I was like, holy shit, how is this not bigger news? And it seemed like everybody in the comments was just like, yeah, you'll have that. They get them all juiced up on fucking horse HGH. And then their hearts explode. But like, yeah, everybody was like, there were some people acting like that might have been a low number. But like, that's fucking crazy that the odds of your horse dying are like pretty great. And these people still spend millions and millions of dollars only to have them, stroke out right before the race.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. It hasn't attracted more adverse attention from the
PETA
tree huggers of the world. Yeah, because I remember there was an HBO show all about horse racing with Dustin Hoffman in it called Luck, and I think it might have been a David Simon or David it was some prestige show. It was either like the Wire guy or the Sopranos guy or somebody like that made this show. And it was going to be their next big thing, right? And all-star cast and all this stuff, but it only lasted one season because ultimately they had to shut it down because they just could not stop killing horses on that show. Like, production shut down like 4 or 5 different times because they killed another horse, and they're like, all right, everybody, meeting.
Yeah,
we have got to stop killing these horses. Okay. And everybody's like, you got it. Right. No problem. Then 3 weeks later in, Deadline Hollywood, 3rd horse dies as Luck production runs afoul of, whatever. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe they're just more fragile than they look or something. I don't know what it is. Maybe you're not meant to beat and drive an animal that hard. Maybe that's it. But, the arrogance of man, I don't see us slowing that down any. So,
do you remember how they? Because like the racing, I get why a horse would, like, at least logically, I go, well, they are training really, really hard. But a horse on a show, like,
yeah, but it was a show.
The horse killed itself.
Like, it was a show about horse racing. I guess practical effects were like they were running them.
Actually, I think. You're right. My bad. I'm stupid.
And they kept dying.
Yeah,
don't hit.
No, again though, like it really is crazy that, like, because I mean, say what you will about PETA, but one thing they are not is quiet. And I haven't, and like, Twitter is like a cesspool for a lot of that shit. I ain't seen, word one about it. I guess that, like, I don't know, the people on Twitter that I follow that would be mad about that just don't even follow the Kentucky Derby even a little bit. So fuck, I don't know, but rest in peace to all them horses.
Yeah. Rest in peace to my horse homies. It's been a big week for fancy people shit. Was it literally the same day? I'm talking, of course, about that's what I thought.
Yes,
the coronation of King Charles what is he?
King Charles II, I believe. And yeah, I said that the coronation and
the thing I'm going to be talking about later, an ancillary person to the reading of it, is a king named Charles II. Then I'm wrong. Then I'm
No.
I don't think you are, though.
They just be making that shit up.
I know, but the numbers, I should at least get the numbers right.
Yeah,
right?
You would think. Well, maybe hold on. The guy you're talking about was from a different family of Charleses. Like he might be the second
Okay.
Charles Windsor, or like Guvenschlachen, or whatever it was called before.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe. I mean, I'm just trying to. I don't think that there's no way we're both wrong. Yeah, there is. There's a huge chance that we're both wrong.
There was a Charles II in the 1600s, who was the king of Scotland, England, and Ireland.
Okay, so that was the Tudor dynasty, maybe, or the
you got me on that part, but
either way, this one's the second too, right?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, dude, I could have been completely wrong. Hold on just a second. This is a very what King Charles?
Now he's the third.
Now he's
okay.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I just pulled that out of my fucking ass.
Well, it's funny. I was also thinking second, but I might have been thinking second because I was just reading about a Charles II that was the.
I just said a thing. You know what it is? I just remembered seeing it in print, and there was at least 2 dashes by his name, and I omitted the third, and I'm a fucking So yeah, he's the third. That makes way more sense. Did you see the mental gymnastics that I went through in order for me not to be wrong? Yeah, I was like, well, clearly it just means that it's a different dynastic family, not that I misread 2 and 3.
Right.
Look at all them soldiers fucking stepping out of line, except my boy. That's me and my brain about this.
We got there at the end of the day, though, and it was 400 plus years between Charleses.
That's
pretty
a long
good.
time.
Pretty long time for Charles. I don't because Charles is like a William or a John or anything. I think there would have been another Charles somewhere in there, but I guess not. No Charleses. Of course, they switched over to Wimmerns for a while, and so that'll do it.
Yeah, that's actually for I think 156 out of the last 300 years they've been reigned by a woman.
Right. So
and I mean Queen Elizabeth's doing most of the heavy lifting there.
Victoria too was there for a long time, right? So I mean, that right there will cut back on the number of Charleses you have. Yeah,
I'm surprised that now, granted, I'm not like as tuned in to like British news as I am American news and all this shit. And like, obviously she was coronated fucking, 70 years ago or whatever. But like, do you think that was a big, like having a queen, like you'd think that would just be like, no. We can't, the king can have a wife that's the queen, but there's no fucking way we're going to have a queen rule. Like, I mean, that's crazy.
I don't know when the first one was. There was Mary, Queen of Scots, for sure, and and she's pretty old timey, I reckon.
Yeah,
like I don't know when they broke the seal on. Okay, I guess we'll let a woman do it,
right.
But I assume it had to be like this family must continue to rule for whatever reason, and there ain't no dudes left, so I guess it's gonna have to be her or something. Because I've definitely had the thought before that it's wild that they even had queens before Elizabeth, just because women didn't used to be allowed to do nothing.
Right, like now.
But fuck, dude, Cleopatra, whole different society and everything. But like that's wild too. Really.
It is wild that like that one little tiny part, like if you can be progressive in a monarchical system, but like that one tiny part of the past was actually not completely sexist is kind of wild.
I think they still hated all the other women.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? It was really just the one. And I guess they were like, well, God says we got to be all right with her. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But fucking Meredith could shut her mouth, though. You know what I mean? I don't want no back talk from her or, Vicky. That's not a name from back then. Anyway, so the coronation of King Charles III, did it hit?
Yeah. I mean, look, here's the thing.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Okay. I watched up until they were going to go outside. Like he'd been crowned. Then they were going outside for his like victory lap in a fucking Cinderella carriage type thing. And this is 3.5 to 4 hours later. And I was, and like, I'd been up since 4 o'clock. And
I was going to say, when did it start?
I got up at 4 so I could be over at my mama's house for tea and scones. It started at 5 our time, and I was told because I was going to do the coronation last week, so I'd already done my research, and in my research, I was told, nay, promised that that Charles himself was trimming the time of the coronation because it used to be a 3-4 hour affair, and he wanted it to be a quote tidy 90 minutes. And it was fucking 3.5 hours long before he even leaves the place. And at that point, the sun was coming up and it was a pretty day outside. And I was like, I'm not wasting any more of my goddamn time. But how was it? I don't have anything to compare it to, except like I've seen footage of Queen Elizabeth's, like little clips or whatever. Of course, history buffs will know hers was the first to ever be televised. But it was certainly, it's like the pace of it from the beginning to what I saw was like the red carpet, except for no one hit. You know what I mean? Like it was just stuffy aristocrat after stuffy aristocrat walking in. The only person I saw that I was like, I'd like to sit next to her was Dame Maggie Smith.
Yeah.
Would
Wonder
you
if
like
Lord
me?
Pickles was there.
Dude, I guarantee you Lord Pickles was there. I just didn't like recognize him. Would you like me to read? I live tweeted it, and I can read you real quick exactly how I felt about it. I'll skip some that don't hit, but
sure.
Here's I don't think any of them
determine that. I was about to say, yeah, it's funny. You're like, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking with that one, but yeah, a glimpse into the mind of past Cho as he watches the coronation.
Yes, and to just have some of these are without context, but I think they'll work. So up watching this silly hoopla with my mom so we can talk about it on Puttin on Airs. Okay, Maggie Smith is there. It's less stupid now. Can Tony Blair not afford a tailor for his pants? Boris walked in like he was getting chips at Spoons. Justin Trudeau looking like a snack as per usual. This whole thing looks like the Be Our Guest scene in Beauty and the Beast if the characters were all played by dinosaurs. They got the windows down in that carriage like Camilla's about to roll a blunt. And this is funny too. While we were watching it, and Charles was like, "Come." He rides in one carriage to get there, and then a separate carriage afterwards. I guess the second carriage. It's like now that you and God are tight, you can have the gold carriage. But we're sitting there watching it, and it's so fucking boring. And Mom, in all sincerity, goes, he really should be waving more, because he was just kind of fucking sitting there, and that pissed her off.
What are they doing the whole time? Like prayers and incantations?
They
and
were just
stuff. Are they like waving scepters around his head and lighting ceremonial candles? Like, what the fuck are they reading from ancient tomes? Like,
once
what are they doing for 4 fucking hours?
Well, dude, most of it again was just people piling in. Like his ride from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Abbey, where of course they had the first coronation in Westminster Abbey in the 1400s. His ride from there was so fucking long, and it was just people kind of like stumbling in, and then like there was a really awkward spot where like clearly people had gotten there late and their seats were in the middle, so people were having to like get up because like Harry was a little bit late. Classic.
I was going to ask what happened with him, because I feel like I saw something on Twitter. Didn't he? He got like a not primo spot and then bounced or something.
Yeah.
Like
he was sitting there, and he was sitting there next to someone who don't hit. Like Megan wasn't there. Like she wasn't there at all. Speculation
is that anticipated, or
I don't really know. To me, it's like, dude, if you're going to let Harry be there, dude, if you don't let Megan be there, now it's a subject. Like you could just make it a non-thing, but
that's I don't know. That's one of those things that I feel like they were it would have been a thing either way. Like they would have bitched if she was there, like the audacity to show her face at this sacred moment. And also, evidently, if she wasn't there, then that would cause a kerfuffle too, I guess.
Total lose-lose situation. I mean, another person who was in a lose-lose situation was Joe Biden, who was absent. He sent Jill in his place. And me and Dad were actually on the couch talking about it. And Dad was like, it hits for me that he's not there. And I was like, I hear you.
I read that you know how we be with kings historically. Yeah. I read that no American president has ever attended a coronation of a British monarch, just on principle. Like we don't do that as a general rule, is what I read. So
I bet one reason is a security purpose. Now you've got 2 world leaders in the same spot. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, Charles is only by title or whatever, but in my opinion, though, Biden, I didn't know that was the rule, but like he's almost in a lose-lose, because like if he goes, then it's like, couldn't he be worrying more, about more shit? And then if he don't, it's like he can't even be bothered to go to this
'Cause
historical event.
I also think that I heard or saw somewhere at some point that our leaders, our diplomats, whatever, also don't kneel or bow or
Yeah.
whatever. Like some people like kneel before the sovereign over there, whatnot.
Yeah.
But like from the, ever since we handed them that L in 1776,
Yeah.
we're like, yeah, we don't play that.
Which hits.
And that does hit. All that hits for
Yeah.
me. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're friends, but still, so I'm on board.
Speaking of Harry walking in, Harry walks in very sheepishly because he's coming in behind. Can you guess who was there in front of Harry walking in?
Was it the pederast?
Yep, Prince
diddler?
Andrew.
Prince Andrew,
And
the
so
diddler?
he walks in, and Harry. It's like clear that they were supposed to come in together, but Harry's like leaving it just enough
Wait,
room.
they like put them together? Is
Well,
it
I
like?
I'm just saying
Here-
they. Can't...
And now the shame retinue.
Well, they were like
Behold those with whom we have little favor to go. It's like, and it's funny that like
what
this
Harry
dude-
did is the same.
Yeah,
to
right.
them.
Exactly. Like, yeah, comparing their two transgressions.
Yeah.
And they're both they're shunned for that.
Well,
That's pretty funny.
I say they came in together because basically everyone came in with like their +1 who like their wife or whatever. So people were walking 2 by 2 like Noah in the ark. But Andrew comes in alone, and right behind him is Harry, and it almost looks like they were, like I said, they were supposed to walk in together, but Harry's leaving just enough room, back there where it's like, okay, I mean, I'm still in the same frame, but there's not going to be a side-by-side pick. And he had a very peculiar look on his face, and like, frankly, I don't really understand Prince Andrew like being there, because they've already like, I'm pretty sure that Charles had said like he cut off all his bullshit, that don't hit. And so to me, it's like, dude, now if you're really going to go, there's Meghan can't be there, but you invite this motherfucker. That's a little weird.
Yeah, for sure.
A couple more tweets. Someone else who showed up, old man Parker Boyles, which was very awkward. That was Camilla's first, if you can remember. I can't believe the royal horses are shitting everywhere. How terribly uncouth. Then Mom came in with another zinger. I wonder if Charles farts in front of Camilla. And this is when Prince Andrew just walked in like, wait, isn't this a Chuck E. Cheese?
Do they have a poop boy for the horse poop? Like,
I
did
mean,
you see like a ball boy in tennis, some little like coal-faced street urchin runs in there with a shovel and scoops the poop up? I'm probably not. I imagine at least put a feather in his hat or something like that. But
it's funny you say that, because
they just let the poop sit. Because
my dad basically asked the same thing when we were sitting there watching it. This horse, dumped a fucking huge load, and Dad was just like, I guarantee when they cut back, that shit ain't there. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, they definitely got something like a chimney sweep or something that's going to go in there. Because like at the Masters, that's a thing where like if a golfer hits a ball and it knocks down a limb, I swear to God, they will catch that limb before it hits the fucking ground and take it off the course. So like, I don't know. I think they probably did. I mean, keep it real. But I mean, dude, it was a long ride. Them horses was shitting their ass off, dude.
Yeah, I mean, horses be pooping. It's like women and shopping,
Another tweet. Where the fuck is Mr. Bean? A glaring omission, in my opinion. Charles better tip this horse at least 15%. Oh, by the way, this was interesting. So maybe not to you. Well, no, it should be to you. This fucking announcer, man, like I don't know if he was super nervous about calling the coronation, because like, and I don't know who this guy is, but I have to assume they've got the Jim Nance of over there to do it. You know what I mean? He accidentally called Prince Louis Prince George. And like, it's funny because he just goes, oh, that's Prince Louis there. And my mom goes, that's George. And then the other announcer was like, that is Prince George, and it was like, and it was like that, oh shit moment. Like, dude, if this was 200 years ago, your head's getting cut off.
Who's Prince Louis?
Louis, the other kid. Ain't that, they got, that's William. And William and Kate have Louis and George, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's a truly unforgivable transgression there, mixing them two kids up. But I know what you mean. I mean, in the over there, I mean, I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure that other guy was just seething. He got the name, but he mixed up the 8 with the 6-year-old or however old them kids be.
Yeah, and last tweet, the Coronation and the Kentucky Derby happening on the same day is like a combination KFC Taco Bell for people who don't pay their taxes.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
thank you. So yeah, I mean, I just lost my document. I thought it was, I mean, what can you do? Like there was so much, Trae, if you needed some pomp or some circumstance,
yeah.
well, they got it all, buddy. You ain't
Yeah.
got no circumstance.
Both pomp and circumstance at this place.
Yeah. So there's 4 initial parts of the coronation. There is the first one, which is the recognition. That's where they're presented to everyone, and they have to be like, it's basically that part in marriage when they say, does anyone here object, speak now or forever, hold your peace. Well, like they do that for the king, you know what I mean? Like he had to get up there and they do this thing, and there's never been that so far, like in recorded history, there's never been a time when someone has been like, he shouldn't be king, fuck him. But the only reason is because Prince Charles or King Charles, like kings or queens in the past, they get to control the invite list. So like they only pick people for whom they know they hit for, right? Because a lot of people,
I would imagine you would shy away from inviting your usurpers to the coronation. Yeah, if somebody's got designs on the throne, you're like, well, we're going to have to leave him off the guest list.
Yeah. So like, cause there were a lot of people that were talking about, dude, there's going to be massive protests at the coronation this year. Like it's going to be crazy. And then I was reading some people go like, I mean, yeah, there will be outside of this other building where the fucking cops aren't, because like they're going to have this place boarded off. You might hear some stuff from outside.
Speaking of which, I know there was at least one. I was disappointed to find out that it wasn't at the actual, I thought it was supposed to be at the coronation itself, but I found out later it wasn't. But one form of protest was apparently some show of a groundskeeper at one of the coronation and celebration sites mowed a big dick into the lawn. You see that? You saw that, right?
Yeah, I did. It's just
I thought
nice
it was in. Yeah, I thought it was like at the spot, but it turns out it was at because they have coronation celebrations all across the country, right? And it was at the one in Bath. Lovely. We've been there. Very, very beautiful place. It's funny. That's a almost as funny place to have a dick in the yard as at Bath, because Bath is it's very like Georgian and
it's
classy
unbelievable
and beautiful and shit. So to have like, the central hit spot in Bath to be adorned with a penis is still pretty good. Wonder if they chucked that guy into the dungeons.
Oh yeah, he's in the Tower of London.
Bread, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Put him in the stocks. Throw miters at him.
Well,
for
as
the
I
rest
said,
of his days.
There weren't any protesters obviously there. I'm certain that there were some outside because, dude, I mean, you can't go anywhere in a big city without there being protesters. That's fine. That's great or whatever. But there was only one time in history when they thought that there was a protesting going on. So like this was, I believe it was William the Conqueror. So he's getting not inaugurated, coronated, right? And so they get to the part where he's like, speak now, forever hold your peace, yay or nay or whatever. Well, the people loved William the Conqueror, loved the shit out of him. So everybody in there not only was not going nay, they start losing their fucking mind, like, hell yeah, that's our guy, woo! And just start, the medieval equivalent of shooting pistols in the air, whatever that is, like hitting swords together. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, but he had conquered them though, right? Was he? So he was viewed as like a liberator or something?
No, I think he became William the Conqueror because of him being king, and he was there and conquered people for them, I believe, is the deal.
No, that was the Norman conquest, right? He can't, like the Normans invaded and conquered England in 1066, and William the Conqueror was the leader of the Normans, weren't he? I mean,
here's all I know.
I'm pulling that from like 10th grade.
That could be true,
history or whatever. But
all I know about it is that the people in the crowd were actually cheering and like fucking like, hell yeah, this is our guy, this is our guy. But the guards outside thought that they were like, boo, off with his head, boo. And so they just started lighting fire to the whole city. Like his people just went and started lighting fire to the whole city. And then they got out and he was like, what? I was killing it. You know what I mean? They loved me.
That's funny because I looked it up just to see if I was at all right about that. And the first thing on Wikipedia says William the First, usually known as William the Conqueror and sometimes known as William the Bastard.
Nice.
Seems like it was, something of a divisive subject. But yeah, he led an army of Normans to victory over the Anglo-Saxon forces at the Battle of Hastings. Yes, and suppressed subsequent English revolts.
Dude,
so
I
he came up there and just
that.
conquered their ass, but maybe Harold Godwinson, who was leading the Anglo-Saxons before William conquered his ass, maybe he just super didn't hit for people. And so when William conquered him, they were like, hey, this is way better, until his people set everything on fire and all that stuff. But you got to foresee a conqueror setting some shit on fire, in my opinion. You can't be that surprised,
No,
but
I agree. And this says a lot about me and my segment is that I literally did a full breakdown of the Battle of Hastings. You know what I mean? Now, granted, dude, that was like in studio days, probably the third episode of the day. But yeah, you're correct. But either way, that was the thing. Then they do that. They present him to everybody like, yay, nay, whatever. And then he's got to take the oath, right? Which is where they say their piece about like, oh, I'm going to reign justly and mercifully, blah, 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 blah. And this part, the coronation oath and the accession declaration, these are the only parts of the ceremony that are like actually required by law. This is the only thing that has to happen. You know what I mean? So realistically, the whole thing really is like a fucking wedding. It's like you only got to say this, or you could do it at the court, but like, here you go. He takes the oath. Then they do the anointing. Right. So we've talked
oil,
about this.
Yes. They took all the whale liver and goose blood out of it or whatever was in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has to be the Archduke of Canterbury, which I am so proud of myself that I recognized him when we were watching the coronation. It was like me seeing my favorite sports guy. I was just sitting there going, oh shit, that's the Archduke of Canterbury. Yeah, it's gotta be. He got the oil. The
Leo on the couch.
Yeah, that was it. That was
Once upon a time in Hollywood. That's you with the Archduke of Canterbury.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
so like,
cheers to that, because I wouldn't have a fucking clue what that guy looks like.
Yeah. I don't know, man. He looks exactly like the Archduke of Canterbury.
Yeah. Like he got a silly hat.
Yeah. Like don't get
real
me wrong,
silly hat, I bet.
Like, and because like too
opulent robe, I'm assuming. Yeah.
So like all the like, like
festooned with baubles, perhaps. Yes.
Dude, I was searching for a phrase and it was festooned with baubles.
Yeah.
It was like on the tip of my tongue. But but you could separate him like kind of easily from everybody else because a lot of people were like in their dress reds, I guess, over there. Like they're wearing the red coats and shit like that. Like Charles actually had a couple outfit changes, like fucking Aretha Franklin or some shit. Cause like he went in and he was like, he had on like a robe that kind of looked like that dress that nobody could tell if it was blue and black or white and gold. You know what I mean? Like one of them kind of gimmicks. And then at one point, I can't remember what the fuck else he changed into, but like everybody comes in there and it looks like the red coats are coming to town. And then the Archduke of Canterbury, I mean, yeah, he's got the fucking like the hat that does this and then this. It's like a rectangle and a triangle. I'm sure that looks like a fucking felt pen. A felt pen. That's what his hat looks like. So, like I said, and we talked about it before. Originally, where everybody thought this, well, they say that this oil came from Mother Mary, like that she actually gave somebody this oil to put on the fucking British king or some shit. It also used to be said that it had healing powers. So, like, if the king, once he gets the oil on, then he can touch you and you're healed. Yet, apparently, like, he didn't just, like, do that.
No, that type of thing, I've always, anytime something like that comes up where it's like legend holds that it bestows these, magical, mystical powers or whatever, I'm always like, okay, but surely they tried it at some point and it never worked, right? So like, why do they keep saying that? Just to uphold the mystery or whatever. So, because I mean, no, he can't do that.
Of course,
it's funny if like their official story was like he just chooses not to.
Yeah,
he doesn't deign to heal the sickly, for that is beneath him as the ruler.
They actually used to back in the day. There was like this. There was some sort of like cloth. It was sort of like a red carpet type situation. There was a cloth that they put down to for the king to walk across before he got to his coronation, and then the church or something would then take that cloth and cut it up into tiny little pieces and then sell it for a profit to pay for like church shit or something like that. But so he gets, and like I said, Charles is now, it's vegan. There's no whale stuff in it because he's, all that. But they put it on. And by the way, you can't see this. This whole part was they had like 10 British soldiers come with those, like, the things that women put in front of them when they're changing bathing suits at the, yeah, like a couple of like really fancy those things. And they boxed him in, and like for like a very awkward 10 minutes, he was sitting there getting oiled up. Yeah, using a coronation spoon, which this is kind of neat. They've been using the same coronation spoon since 1349. Pretty wild, huh? Keep up with a little.
Now, where does that go in between the soup spoon and the teaspoon and the cream spoon and all that? Where's the coronation spoon go? I'm assuming all the way on the inside, because you work your way outside in. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's funny that like that part, the peasants are not permitted to gaze upon, because like that's like the part. That's you know what I mean? That's like the real part. That's the actual coronation part right there. It's 4 hours of bullshit and just that one part. And that's the only part you're not allowed to see. That's pretty raven to me.
But we shall not. We can't gaze upon their hits,
right? But I mean, you think about, how are we even to be certain that he is in fact the king? If we're not right, like we don't know. We don't know what happened behind those partitions back there. Archduke might have been on some bullshit. Could have been fake oil. Might have been just regular olive oil, not king oil. It's impossible for us to say if they won't let us bear witness, but that's not for me to say.
I like to believe that as soon as they put those up, Charles looked at the Archduke and just went, "Are you think they're buying this shit?" You know what I mean? Like they had like one of those knowing laughs or whatever. So he gets anointed. Then they sit him on the coronation chair, which is where they keep the stone of scone, which is a slab of red
Biscuit rock.
Biscuit rock. There you go.
Biscuit rock. Yeah.
Which is a big slab of red rock that for some reason they stole from the Scottish. They stole it
just
from the Scottish.
It probably hit for the Scottish, and they were like, well, we'll not have that. We'll have that. Thank you very much.
And unless my reading was wrong, they like gave it back to Scotland, but then they borrow it every time there's a coronation, which I have to assume does not hit for Scotland, because like, Scottish and Irish Twitter this weekend was a very different place than,
for sure.
You know what I mean? Like they were
not
just, hey, I'm fucking, I'm with you on that. So then there's that Camilla also got crowned, during all the, I mean, it took, 2 hours to do him. And then they were just kind of like, here you go, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But they actually there was some controversy surrounding her coronation, not only from the fact that like, it was already controversial that those two were even together. Normally, like they wouldn't let someone be the queen consort if they come from a split home. And like, but I think at this point they were like, all right, but like they've now been together longer than Charles and Diana ever were. So like, can we not let bygones be bygones, whatever. But one thing that was noticeably absent from Camilla's crown, because she was wearing Queen Mary's crown, like the Queen, it was the fucking old crown, and it's got like all the royal jewels in it or whatever, except for they removed one. There was a slight modification. They took out and I'm going to very badly pronounce this, the Koh-i-Noor diamond, which is a diamond that they, shocker here, stole from the Indians. And it's a super sacred diamond to them. And it said that like, she was gonna take it out of her crown. I was like, oh, that's nice. They didn't give it back.
No,
but like,
don't even let them see it. Not even on the telly. Not from a world away are they permitted to see it. It belongs only to us.
It's according to a lot of Indian historians, like this was a stone that was like revered by the gods like Krishna, but that they also claimed now carries a curse on it. So
yeah, well, you steal any of that stuff like that, you can't be stealing sacred relics from other cultures. You're just begging to
Right.
get cursed, in my opinion. You know, it's not
No.
just Egypt. I'm sure India's got some good curses under their belt.
I agree wholeheartedly, but you know, again, I'm glad that I watched it because it was a historical moment that, you know, really though, William is a little bit older than me, so it's possible that I could see 2 more of these in my lifetime. You know what I mean? Like, definitely going to
Yeah.
see William, might see Prince Louis or George. But other than that, it was like, dude, they needed the WWE to produce this motherfucker, or at least the Super Bowl team or something like that. It was all choirs. I mean, some of the choirs hit, and I would like to say this. Now, granted, I have no coronations to compare this to, but not the crowd, not the audience, because those were all fucking old, white, scaly, fucking monarch aristocrats. But the like entertainment and the people who were like singing and like carrying oils and stuff, it was actually a very diverse group. Like there was a lot of people of color, like a lot, and the first time I noticed it, I was just like, I was thinking about how much that wouldn't hit for Prince Philip. And then I kept noticing it. And it sounds stupid for me to be like, I noticed it, but like, I mean, I don't think I should feel bad for when this happens and I see a black person to be like, well, I'll be damned. But there was, they had a black choir. They also had there was a choir down like both sides, which was like people of all ages, like a lot of young boys, a lot of young girls. And they sort of like scored the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like when people were coming in, they were singing their tunes and like setting the mood. And then every time there was a shift in something, they would start singing a different song and they would put the title of the song and like who composed it. And there was this one dude, there was like honestly 15 to 20 songs. And this one fucking guy got 8 of his own in. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, which I know that like,
Was
the
Sting?
royalties. No, it wasn't Sting. It wasn't
Was Sting there?
And
Sting was probably there somewhere, right?
If he was, I didn't see him.
Feels like Sting would be there, I think.
That's kind of that's another thing I wanted to talk about was that now again, I may have just missed it. And I'm certain that there was an after party afterwards that I missed. But from what I saw, and by the way, Boris was there. From what I saw, Maggie Smith was like the only
celebrity
that I recognized. I'm certain that there were some over there that they would recognize, but like I know their top shits, but Maggie Smith was the only one that I recognized, and I was fully expecting like Sting, Elton John, like David Beckham or some shit like that. But like I figured that Elton John was going to sing a goddamn song,
right? Yeah,
and I mean,
maybe they might not hit for Elton, because I mean he was real tight with Diana
thing.
Yeah, because he sang at her funeral and shit. So like
that's
maybe there's a rift there.
That's actually a really good point. But the coronation did happen. They have a new king.
I want to ask you about this. That's Charles's first portrait as king right there.
Yeah.
What this holy orb? He's got nice orb there. Do you know what the story is with that orb? I saw some people calling it the holy hand grenade. Has that got like king oil in it? What's going on there? Also, I would point out that it's wild to see one of these king portraits like in 4K or whatever.
It's
it is.
crazy.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's
like
crazy.
It's wild because it's a mixture of like that would not be out of place amongst king portraits. It's just wild because of the modern nature of it and everything and how it looks. It's all kind of surreal, sort of.
Yeah, I can't remember what that fucking orb is called. I know that I wrote it down at some point and I can't find it, but there's that orb and then there's that scepter. And from what I've read, I believe about that orb is like that particular orb is actually, and I could be wrong, please send mail if I'm wrong, but that orb is not actually as ornate as you think it is. Like a lot of it is just for show. Like it's not made of like solid gold or anything. And it's kind of just like, I don't know. It's weird. It's like
What's the point?
It looks like it hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it looks like.
I mean, he's the king. They're the fucking royal family. They can't get some shit that actually hits in there. They got to fake their hits like my aunts, they get gussied up for the fucking homecoming days or whatever, like costume jewelry, the royal orb version of that. It seems odd to me.
Dad, look up stuff on that scepter and orb and send it to us in a text. Yeah, I can't remember. Like, I don't like all the things I had written down was like the crown was Queen Mary's, and there was a thing about Scotland. I think it's just, I don't think, this is me, I don't think that particular scepter is like an old scepter. I think that's just like his scepter. I think they're lousy with scepters.
Oh, they got a whole room full of scepters over there. They
Yeah.
gotta dig through. BPP notes that Katy Perry was there, just so you know.
Oh, how did I miss that?
B, it's the Sovereign's Orb.
Okay.
The ancient history of the scepters and orb. Let's see here.
I may have been completely wrong, and also may have been thinking of something completely different.
The orb and one of the scepters were most recently seen when they were placed on the coffin of Elizabeth at her state funeral. But I guess they put them up there just for a photo op and then took them away or whatever. I guess. She held them. Part of the crown jewels, a collection of more than 100 objects that are of incalculable cultural, historical, and symbolic value. Some of the scepters and orb are some of the most storied and iconic objects associated with the royal family. The pieces date back to the 17th century and are traditionally a major part of the ceremony when a new monarch takes the throne because each has a special meaning.
17th century, that's new shit.
I agree. I thought it'd be older than that too.
Yeah. Maybe that's what turned me off of it in my research. I saw something from the 1700s. I was like, that ain't interesting.
The scepter is meant to represent the crown's power and governance. It's been used in the coronation of every British monarch since 1661 when it was created for the coronation of King Charles II.
I literally just got through saying, I don't think that's an old scepter or nothing.
Yeah. And then let's see here. I'm trying to find the orb. The sovereign's orb is a significant part of the traditional regalia. The golden jeweled ball surmounted by a gem-encrusted cross is designed as a symbol that the monarch's power is derived from God. So yeah, it's a holy orb. That's all it is.
Back
Just
to
like,
that.
how else would they know the power's derived from God if he didn't have an orb with a cross on top of it?
Yeah.
Like people be looking like, I'm not sold on this, and they see the orb and they're like, oh well, shit. Hard to argue with that.
What is it about orbs? Like a scepter, I understand a scepter sort of has some functionality because it could be used as a walking stick, but an orb is just like a snow globe. Like it's just a trinket, right?
Yeah,
like
but
you
it's
put
the
stuff in
Lord's
the orb?
trinket,
Yeah.
I don't know. Orbs just hit for people, I think.
Orbs do hit.
Orbs don't not hit, I don't have a problem with orbs. Orbs are kind of cool.
We got any type of orb over here? Is that like a over there? Like I can't think of like an American orb. Do we have an orb?
No. Probably the world's biggest marble in Racine, Wisconsin or something like that. Probably the closest thing we got to an orb,
Back to that picture, not to be ageist, but that picture of him looks like someone dressed a papaw for Halloween, snuck in the nursing home and took a picture. Like he looks kind of scared. Am I wrong? Like he's like,
No, you're not wrong. He does. Yeah, he looks like he doesn't really know what's happening. Like someone just gave him an orb and scepter and opulent robes and festooned him with baubles and said, now, say cheese, which he didn't.
I mean, not that I feel bad for this guy or any of these people, but like it's comical how fewer years he's going to reign than his mom. You know what I mean? Like they're coronating him and it looks like he's already on the way out. Like I know that he's like, dude, they get what me and mom and dad were talking about it, and they were like, man, he looks like he could go anytime now. And apparently he does have some sort of health problems, but like I was like, dude, both his parents lived late into their 90s. He's got like the Illuminati shit. Like he'll be there for a minute. But I mean,
how old is he?
I think he's 74 or something.
Yeah, dude, I'd say he'll probably go 20 more years, probably.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
You know
who the youngest monarch to ever be crowned was, Trae?
Ethelred the Unready?
No, it was Mary, Queen of Scots, who ascended the throne when she was 6 days old.
Oh, hard to top that.
Yeah. And that was back in a time when the coronation had to happen before you were even considered the king or queen.
Yeah.
Now that's not the case.
See,
Like as soon as she died, he was king.
I mentioned her earlier when we were talking about queens. I was like, I know there
Yeah.
was Mary Queen of Scots. The fact that it was not just a woman, but a baby woman
Yeah.
makes it even wilder that they
It's
were like, yeah, she
crazy.
can be queen. It's all, but it also like, I feel like sort of tells you something about it, meaning like there was power behind the throne,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like a
Yes.
baby can't be nothing but a figurehead. You know
Not
what
when
I
it's
mean?
divine.
Like, right. Like that baby ain't ruling. That baby's pooping everywhere and crossing its
Right.
eyes and shit. You know, so like the court was ruling. You know,
Right.
she got one of them worm tongue fellers back in the shadows, pulling all the strings for the baby queen of Scotland.
BPP reports that King Charles will be 75 in November, and also he says my man Lionel Richie was there, so I miss Lionel Richie. I don't know
So
how.
American celebrities
Yeah.
were there.
Yeah,
That
man.
makes it weirder to me, honestly.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Do
there you go.
want,
That's
okay. That's the coronation.
well,
You want me to
that was
get
my
into-
experience with it. It was because again, it was a whole lot of nothing. Like because like
Yeah.
each like
which I feel like is befitting.
it
you
is
know, like-
but like when I saw like I don't know, I thought there was going to be like set breaks for the fucking shit, you know what I mean? But like it was pretty much just people in robes walking while the ambiance of was going
Yep.
on, and then boom,
I knew there'd be a
Okay.
lot of that. A lot
There
of
was
that. Oh,
so
yeah.
eat
Were
up
there any
with
rays
sonatas
of
out the
light
ass.
shining down out of nowhere? Did they strategically place any rays of light, any
No.
sort of halo effects, anything like that?
No, but it was brightly lit in there because I guess it was the abbey with the sun coming through and stuff like that. But no, not there. There wasn't like a special ray that hit him in the head right as he got the oil on him or something. Because like
yeah, it's an
that
oversight,
would have been.
dude. You
I
think they
agree.
could make that happen this day
I
and
agree.
age?
I agree, man. But no, they didn't. So yeah, there's a new king. Some people are happy. Some people are sad. And most people don't give a fuck.
Well, buddy, I'm so ready to tell you about something related to his predecessor. In fact, I didn't think about that, but
my
it
God.
has to do with Charles the First in an ancillary fashion. But I found out about this week, and I've been dying to tell you about it. So, do you want to take a quick break?
Yes.
And then we'll get into it. Okay.
Yes, I do. Because
Right
it's
after
this.
this.
Are you looking to budget your food expenses ahead of summer? Get more bang for your buck with America's best value meal kit. Every plate is 25% cheaper than grocery shopping with no hidden fees, so you can count on great value week after week. Plus, only pay for what you need with pre-portioned ingredients. Make the sustainable choice this fall. Every plate offsets 100% of their delivery emissions to your door, and nearly all packaging materials are curbside recyclable in most areas in the U.S. Also, did I tell you it's cheaper than your average fast casual meal? It certainly is. You can count on every plate to make meal times easier without compromising on quality. Every plate recipes include only the highest quality ingredients, including sustainably sourced seafood. It's wonderful stuff. Trae, tell them all about it.
I'm a huge fan of Every Plate and have been for a long time. I love a lot of things about it relevant to this show. Makes you feel fancier in the kitchen, in my opinion. You know, when's the last time you made some bulgogi? You know what I mean? My trash butt wouldn't know how to make that otherwise, but now I do, thanks to Every Plate. Also, the main thing I've always liked about it, it keeps me from being wasteful. I like to go to the store, get up a bunch of ingredients for the whole week's worth of recipes and end up not using some of them or waiting too long or whatever, end up having to throw them away, which drives me crazy. With Every Plate, you don't have to worry about any of that because they take all the guesswork out of it for you. They send you exactly what you need to make what you're going to make. Also, the stuff is just straight up delicious. I love the mushroom smothered chicken. That's one of my personal favorites. My kids, who are picky, enjoy it as well. I'm a huge devotee of Every Plate, and I think you will be too. So here's what y'all can do. You can get $1.49 per meal. That's right, $1.49 per meal by going to everyplate.com/podcast and then entering the code POA 149. That's right. $1.49 per meal. Can't beat that with a stick. All you got to do is go to everyplate.com/podcast and then enter the code POA 149. Y'all, that's up to $110 value. So try Every Plate today.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're back. So this is not a Venn diagram segment. This is sort of like Timothy Dexter, although he was the human Venn diagram. This is just something it fits the show, and I just had to talk about it. And it's also, like I said, somewhat related because this was a feller in the court of Charles I. His name was Jeffrey Hudson. Joe, have you ever heard of Jeffrey Hudson?
I've not heard of
No.
Jeffrey Hudson.
I'm assuming you have not. And listen, I should probably do a disclaimer before we start this. This is about to be a minefield, and I want everyone to know that we are laughing at the absurd cruelty and ridiculous nature of the past throughout this historical anecdote. Okay, but it's too wild not to share, in my opinion. So Jeffrey Hudson was the court dwarf in the court of Charles I, but really he was a subject of Charles's wife, Queen Henrietta Maria of France. Now she's of France, but she's the Queen of England or whatever, right? So I want to show you a picture of my man Jeffrey here. So you get that pulled up. You see him there? That's him. Down the side.
Okay, I see him now. I definitely didn't at first. Holy
so
shit.
That's Henrietta. Look at her.
That's a
She's
grown man? Or that's not a baby?
It's not. So right there, based on the timeline, he probably is a child, but he didn't get much bigger than that either when he got older. But if you'll notice, it's not just her dwarf, but she's also presenting the court monkey perched upon the arm of the dwarf. She's like, look at her with her just totally dead-eyed face, just like, gaze upon my curiosities, subjects. Gaze upon them in despair.
That's a bit of a hat on a hat there.
Yeah,
Which I love.
So, all right, Jeffrey Hudson was renowned and considered one of the wonders of his age due to his extreme but well-proportioned smallness, right? The proportions is what made him hit so hard for everybody, because they had a couple other dwarfs in the court, but those dwarfs wasn't shit. Them ain't shit dwarfs, right? Because they was dwarf proportioned, and apparently Jeffrey was his proportions hit for them, but he was still small. So they were like, this dude is what's up, right? He gained favor the kingdom round. Everybody loved this guy. They loved him, but in a sort of patronizing way, of course. He was referred to as Lord Minimus. That was his official title. Okay. So here's the story of Jeffrey Hudson. Jeffrey Hudson was born in the parish of Oakham in 1619 to a normal-sized family. His parents and all his brothers and sister were all of typical size. His dad was the bull keeper for the local duke, right? Damn. So his daddy was the bull man, right?
The royal bull
obviously, man. Yeah, his proportions came to be apparent pretty early in childhood, right? Theories abounded as to how this could have happened, right? Because again, his family was all normal sized people and he wasn't. So people try to figure out how he ended up that way. Joe, would you like to hear what the prevailing theory was for how he came to be that size? You'll never guess it in a million years, but it's very typical of the past.
I mean, I was going to say they thought his mama banged a leprechaun, but you said I'd never guess it. So
no, they thought his mama choked on a pickle while pregnant. Hey, that'll do it. Yeah, I know. What? It was choked on a gherkin specifically, but I was afraid if I said gherkin, you might. So gherkin is a small pickle, right? And the pickles that they mostly have over there. So they were like, it's so funny that they're looking at him. They're like, there's no other explanation.
Like how?
Does his mother possess a fondness for small pickles? Is that what? Like,
but before this, did they think that what you ate had something to do with how your kid was shaped, or like, is this the like?
Buddy,
God.
they didn't know shit. That's like it could have been like, might as well have been a tiny ghost in his daddy's sperm or whatever. You know what I mean? Who knows with these motherfuckers?
That would have been my next guess. Like,
right. I mean, that
was
makes
possessed
more
by
sense.
the ghost of a rat or something.
That makes more sense than she choked on a pickle while pregnant with him, but that was the best they could come up with.
And lived.
It's funny. Wikipedia notes that in reality, he probably suffered from a growth hormone deficiency. It's like,
oh, thank you, Wikipedia.
Like, yes, that does seem marginally more likely to me than his mother choking on a pickle while pregnant with him. But when he was 7 years old, the Duke and Duchess of Buckingham came through his hamlet, right? And he was presented to them as a rarity of nature, right? They had a lavish banquet for the Duke and Duchess of Buckingham, the local, townspeople did where he was from. And the climax of that lavish banquet was the presentation of Jeffrey, right? Which came in the form of him being served to her in a large pie. So they brought a big pie out and she's like, oh, lovely. Is it plums? Or whatever. And then he burst from the pie dressed in a miniature suit of armor, right? And of course, they're just like, oh, delightful. I love it so much.
More.
Oh, I love it. It's fantastic, right? And then his parents were like, you can have him. Do you want him? You can have him, right?
Okay. Hold on.
Because the past was a nightmare.
Right. Okay, I got a question. So, like, you say he was presented to her in a pie. What's the origin of that? Like, did these people have this kid and they're like, hey, we was thinking we put him in a pie and give it to her?
I hate to do this. I got it. I got one detail a little backwards. The Duke and Duchess saw him. They saw him in his town. They wanted him. His parents were like, you can keep him. And then the Duke and Duchess presented him to the Queen in that fashion.
Okay.
Right.
That makes
it was
more
like
sense.
the Duke and Duchess were like, like they're just showing up all the other bullshit ass Dukes and Duchesses at the Queen's banquet. They were like, follow this, motherfuckers.
The way you told it,
armored dwarf in a pie, top that bitch, right? And
the way you said it made it seem like his parents Trojan horsed him into a pie. You know what I mean?
No, his parents. It was more like the Duke and Duchess came through, and the parents were like, you got anything you could do with him, because we don't. And they were like, well, he is curious, isn't he? Curious in the extreme. Yes, we'll take him. And then they had a small suit of armor made for him and put him in a pie and made him bust out in front of the Queen. And the Queen just lost her shit and was like, he's mine now. And then he became a subject of the Queen. He was one of several natural curiosities and pets that she maintained in her court, right? She had, like I said, she had two other dwarves. She had that monkey from the painting. His name was Pug, right? And she also had a gigantic porter named William Evans, right? So a guy that carried shit around for him. So she had a giant, oh, what you want me to do for you, Queen Mary, right? Like, and then also Jeffrey, right? And that was part of her cabinet of curiosities that she had, right? And they had all these they had bits and shit they would do. One of the most popular bits was the gigantic porter. Yeah. He would come in while she's entertaining guests or whatever, and he'd pull a loaf of bread out of one pocket, right? And cut some pieces off and lay it down, and then he'd pull Jeffrey out of the other pocket. And set him on the bread and make a sandwich out of Jeffrey. And buddy, you can imagine this bit just killed every time.
Even if you've seen it. You know what I mean?
Again, he's a dwarf, but he's also at this point in time, he's a child dwarf. So like by all accounts, he's 18 inches. He's
Right.
18 inches tall at this point. I mean, dude, 18 inches is fucking tiny, right?
Dude, I mean, my baby's was born 19 or some shit, right? I mean, that's a normal baby
Damn.
size.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
fucking, but this is not a baby. This is him with
No.
just that's fucking so tiny, dude.
Now,
that is
dude,
like a
that's
teacup
probably,
pig.
first of all, the way we measure inches and shit could be
Right.
different. Like
Right.
that's, take that with a grain of salt, but either way,
Sure.
he was very, very, very small,
Yeah.
yet proportional, right?
Whew.
So they did that. So he's just a huge hit. Everybody loves Jeffrey, right? Everybody loves this motherfucker. He's so amusing, right? And so the guy who did a lot of the local theater productions and stuff would cast him, and he'd put elaborate costumes and mask on him and stuff, and these little roles and shit like that. And he was a big deal. But as he grew older, he also like learned to hit for people with his wit and his courtly behavior, right? So like he got erudite and witty and shit like that on top of his size, and so he really increased his stature. It's not the best choice of words, but you know what I mean? Like, hey, you know, he started hitting harder for people, and he gained a lot of favors. He had like he had elaborate livery and dresses, you know, dressing and stuff. He had his own armor and scarlet hoses and ash color Beracon suits with opulent sleeves and things of that nature. He had all this shit, right? And he was a big deal. She commissioned paintings to be made of him, one of which we already saw. I'll show you the other one. She commissioned a separate painting of Jeffrey in the Woods, and there it is. That's Jeffrey in the Woods. Yeah, I'd say the painter nailed it.
That is Jeffrey.
That sure is him.
Woods.
He sure is in the woods, right? So, yeah, he was a big deal. And then this is funny to me. So he became more and more favored when in 1630, when he was only 10 years old. And I know it's like back then, 10 is at least 25 or something.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But she handpicked him to be included as an envoy on a mission to France to bring her back a midwife, right? Because she was pregnant, and she's the Queen of England, but she's from France. She wanted a French midwife, right?
Right.
And she sent a convoy to go find her a midwife, and she assigned him to that mission.
Right.
On the way, the ship was captured by pirates, right? Who captured them and held them for ransom. And whilst they were holding them for ransom, they made Jeffrey fight a turkey for their amusement. And I reckon he whooped that turkey's ass, just so everybody knows, showed that turkey what's what. Right. Then he got ransomed back to the court. So he gets back,
Is he going over there to help pick out the midwife? Because their logic was like, see if she can hold him. You know what I mean? Because if she can, she'll be good with babies.
That's a good question. I guess that makes it make some amount of sense. The way it's presented is just like, she just hit for the queen. And she was like, Jeffrey, go forth, So he's made to fight a turkey by pirates. Pretty wild. They all get ransomed back, so he makes it back to the court and everything. He learned how to ride a horse, shoot a pistol, all this stuff. He was celebrated in many poems and narratives of the day. But it says that people all acknowledge, which this is a little fucked up. They didn't have to do this, but many of the adulatory poems written about him and stuff acknowledge that despite his wit and intelligence, if he wasn't short, he would have no place in the court. Like, people felt it necessary to point that out.
You're only here.
He could talk kind of good, but we all know what time it is. All right. These petty bitches in the rest of the court just couldn't let that go.
Dude,
you know what I mean? They had to point it out.
Can we, for a second, because me and you know this now, talk about, or just at least mention, how difficult it must have been for him to ride a horse?
Yeah, they had a special saddle made for him.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Like, his legs wouldn't even go down to he can't kick them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, they took care of him. They made him a dwarf saddle and whatnot. And not only did he ride that horse, Cho, let me tell you right now, in a couple years after that, King Charles I, right? so the Queen's husband, his relationship with his parliament had deteriorated to the point of like assassination attempts, arrests,
shit.
political intrigue, all this. Civil war is looming. Civil war breaks out between the rebels and the royalists, right? And in the royalist forces, the Queen appointed Jeffrey Hudson a captain of horse, right? And he fought in the royalist forces in the cavalry, right? And it says it's unclear how much combat he saw or whatever, but it is clear.
It's clear.
But it is clear that he very much considered his appointment as a captain of horse a genuine honor rather than a joke. And then
Of
after
course.
that point, for the rest of his life, insisted upon being referred to as Captain Jeffrey Hudson, right?
You're goddamn right.
Right. And so now he's Captain Jeffrey Hudson. He served in this war and his perspective and everything. So after this war, later in the court, his whole thing was he's like, no, I'm a captain. I fought in the goddamn war. I'm not a fucking pet. Don't talk to me that way, right? He had no interest in resuming his role as a pet or a clown, right? Like he wasn't rolling like that no
Right.
more, right? And he had a
Been
lot
promoted.
of pride. He had a lot of pride about it. But not everybody else saw it that way, right?
No.
People still made their cracks and their jokes and whatnot. And at one point in 1644, the brother of one of the men at court, who was actually another horsemaster, the brother of another horsemaster, made some cracks about Jeffrey's dwarfness, and Jeffrey challenged him to a duel, right? And
Take
the
10
guy-
very small paces backwards.
And the guy was like, so be it. Yes, I will duel Lord Minimus in a heartbeat, right? And he's like, he's like elbowing his buddies and stuff. He's like,
Look at this.
sure, we can fucking deal. Yeah, if that's what you want to do, but okay. It's like, you fucking believe this guy? Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll duel. And so the day of the duel, the other guy shows up with the medieval version of a squirt gun, right? Like, and what it really was is it was like, you ever seen these deals where it's like it's got a
Yeah.
plunger and a thing,
push
and
it.
you push it like that? That's
Yeah.
what it really was. But again, medieval version of a squirt gun. He shows up with that, and he's like, I shall extinguish his puny flame, or whatever. And all fucking they're high-fiving and shit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's hilarious. You got him, Archibald, whatever. Like, they're all fucking loving it. And so he pulls this thing out and he's like, how about you? And he squirt guns him. And then Jeffrey pulls out a fucking Glock 9 and caps his ass right in the fucking head.
What?
Yeah,
Like,
he wasn't playing around. No, I'm being facetious with the Glock 9. He pulled out an actual gun and shot him in the head and killed him dead on the spot. Jeffrey did.
David and Goliath, motherfucker.
Jeffrey was not playing that
Oh
shit.
my
Everybody thought it was a joke. He's like, you think it's a fucking game? It's not a fucking game. all
How
right? And,
far did the recoil blow that motherfucker back?
yeah, so he killed that motherfucker.
It's funny, but when you said that, like I forgot that, like, oh, of course there were guns back then. In my brain, this was way long ago. That was just knives. So like that's fucking. Oh God, I'm so happy.
So, but the thing was, this guy, like I said, he was the brother of another horsemaster at court. This guy was like a somebody,
Right?
And
Yeah, you can't be doing
also,
that.
they were in not exile, but the Queen was in like sort of the medieval version of rehab, but not for drugs. She was like in convalescent.
Exhaustion?
She was
Convalescence, yeah.
convalescing. She was convalescing in France, where she's from. So they're in France when this happens. And in France at the time, which I could not believe this, but in France at the time, dueling had been outlawed, right?
Wow.
And
How'd they
also
settle affairs?
right, I know. I thought that's what you had to do. Somebody fucking, dishonors you or makes
Yeah.
a fucking brief reference to the notion of dishonor. You got to slap them with a glove and then
white
shoot
glove.
them in the face.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Standard.
But apparently no, France had outlawed it, and the guy he shot was a somebody. So this was actually a very big problem for Jeffrey. What had
Right.
happened? He was initially sentenced to death, but the Queen
Right.
Henrietta Maria, interceded on his behalf, and his life was spared, and he was exiled from the court and sent back to England. Right.
Oh.
So on his way back to England, he is captured by pirates again. Okay. He's caught by pirates again and taken to North Africa. And this part for the next, at this point, he's 25 years old. For the next 25 years of his life, after he's been captured by pirates, there's not really any historical accounts.
Right.
People, all they know is that he was kept as a slave in Northern Africa by the pirates and made to do pirate slave shit
How
for 25
tiny
years.
was that sail?
But he comes back. He finally is ransomed back as a big collection of English captives, and he comes back to England in 1669, right? And when he comes back, historical accounts claim that he had grown to nearly double his previous height, right? To 45 inches, right? So a little under 4 feet tall is how tall he is when he finally reemerges, right? 25 years later. Cho, once again,
oh God,
would you like to guess how he explained his prodigious growth in height over those years? What he attributed it to? I say again, you will never in a million years guess how he said that happened. This is apparently his own self-explanation.
Someone grabbed him by the ankles and went like real big, or he ate a spring?
Sort of.
Okay.
He attributed it to the buggery he suffered at the hands of his pirate captors.
Okay.
So, according to him, they butt fucked the short out of him. Yeah. That's what he said.
Well,
He said that they, sodomized him into growing taller,
my
evidently.
Lord, what a thing to say.
Past is a nightmare, dog. So he comes back, but he's still not, he's still not in favor or whatever. He meanders around.
Was Henrietta still
England
there?
For a time.
Or had she long died?
No, you know what?
I was worried about the fact that he would get back and she would see him and he wasn't short anymore. And so she'd be like, and I was going to be sad.
No, it says, here's what it says. It says he did not return to the Queen's court even after her return at the invitation of her son, Charles II. So Charles II taking over for his dad. So now she's the Queen Mother. Right. And it says that she had her son invite him back, but he didn't return. I don't know, out of pride or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, he milled around London for a while, but he was something of a celebrity of the time or whatnot. I neglected to mention earlier, he was a Roman Catholic, and so was the Queen and all that, as you'll be totally unsurprised to hear. During this period of time in England, Roman Catholics started not hitting for people, right? And they knew it was like, that little fucker's a Catholic, right? So he was imprisoned for being a Catholic for a while. And then he was released in 1680. He died 2 years later on an unknown date in an unknown circumstances and buried in an unmarked pauper's grave in 1862. But oh my God. Yeah, so that is the story of Jeffrey Hudson. But
how did you stumble upon this?
Fucking something on Reddit? Of course.
Yeah.
But I should also say that a lot of this is like somewhat unclear historically. It's like we've talked before about historical accounts of like ancient Greek. When you're talking about real old shit, especially somebody that's like, he wasn't a king himself or nothing.
Right.
So there's like somewhat conflicting accounts and shit. The thing I told you is like the most popular narrative, but there's also some people say that during those lost years from when he came back from the pirates and then when he died years later, that he was employed as a spy in the British forces. But that's all I could find is that some people say he was a spy, and it's like, I don't know how the fuck that was supposed to work.
He crawled in an opposing army's knapsack and just, went along.
But
that is fucking beautiful, my friend.
How fucking wild is that, dude? The dude insulting him, he challenges him to a duel. The guy, the smart ass, shows up with a squirt gun and he just caps him in the fucking head.
I mean,
pretty gangster,
dude. That's so goddamn funny. And I'm like, really? No, I was gonna say I'm so jealous that you got to this before I found it, but actually I'm really, really happy because it hits harder for me to hear it than it would be for me to tell it to you. I think this has been such a joy, and I got to tell you, when you messaged me like 3 or 4 days ago and you're like, buddy, I cannot fucking wait to record. I've got something that I can't wait to tell you. You've exceeded my expectations. Like I did not foresee it being this great. But thank you for that. That was fucking wonderful.
Yeah, and it's also why, again, I didn't even think about it at the time, but it's wild that this was
Yeah,
in the
Charles
court
II,
of Charles
yeah.
the First,
Yeah.
and then his son was Charles II, who later tried to pardon him or whatever. So it's like kind of related.
We do that all the time, completely on accident, mind you. There's no fucking way we would ever do it on purpose, but that is crazy. Well, Trae, what say we do some airmail?
Yeah, it would hit.
Okay, remember you can email us at puttingonairs@gmail.com. This is from Jacob, subject line Met Gala idea. We should crowdsource cash to send Cho to the Met Gala with an exquisitely made and lifelike costume of a rich guy with his head completely up his ass. Thanks for the laughs, Jacob A.
I don't know. It'd be real hard to fabricate an ass big enough to
put my head up
fit Cho's head in it. That's my only concern. But otherwise, it's a great idea.
Oh, my God. The subject line, who I dress for, or who women dress for.
Oh, yeah. I figured we'd get something on this.
Hey guys, let me first say that I've been a listener since the beginning and look forward to each and every episode. I'm a crazy follower for all y'all and got to see you in Indy with my son in February. Well-read tour and did the meet and greet as well. By the way, we're coming to Knoxville and Asheville. Go to TraeCrowder.com for those tickets. Now, on the who we dress for, personally, while I do think about what others will see, I wear what I like and what I think looks good. Don't like it? Well, fuck you. Don't look at me. I mean, seriously, guys, no matter what women do or wear, someone is going to give a look, make a comment, whatever. Don't waste your time with them. And Trae, it's a well-known fact that husbands almost never notice haircuts, weight loss, different makeup, etc. I give them it is true. It's not just you. It's you and all other shitty men. I give them a little break because you're seeing that person every single day. As a mother of 4, I remember not noticing how much my kids have grown, etc., because I see them all the damn time. Anyways, keep up the great work. You might not want to read any more of this on air. Okay.
All right.
Saying, yeah. Appreciate
intriguing, but yeah.
Appreciate you, L.
I've always, I mean, I know it's not just me. I know it's very much a husband thing, but she said it's because they see them every day. I saw a web comic once that I thought was pretty accurate. That it was basically, I can't describe to you how the comic was presented, but it was the idea that like a woman goes and gets her hair done and comes back and it's like marginally different. It's like fluffier or whatever else, but like it's not that much different. But a dude goes and gets a haircut and comes back and looks like a completely different person,
100%.
which is definitely true for me and Katie in this household. Like I let my hair go forever. I go get a haircut and it's like I've lost 3 pounds of hair on my head or whatever. She goes and it's like there's more waves.
Yes, exactly.
Or a new shade.
Because sometimes they just go for what's called a blowout, like where they'll have someone else just blow dry their hair. And I've been able to notice now when Amber does it, and I'm pretty good about being like, although granted, I just do the thing where I tell her she looks pretty every day because she does, and that just kind of, you just do it every day. It doesn't fucking matter. Hey, medical fads. Hey, y'all. I always watch Puttin' on Airs on YouTube and usually leave a comment. I was sure y'all would get a kick out of this one. Then it occurred to me that y'all probably don't read all those. You are correct. We scan from time to time, but that can be a cesspool of negativity. Anyways, I didn't want y'all to miss this brilliant medical procedure from the 1700s wherein a doctor would literally blow smoke up your ass. BPP. I put it in the chat for you to put, but there you go, Trae. That's a machine where they would literally blow smoke up your ass. And I've
heard of that before. Does he or she say what that's supposed to do?
That was the end of the message.
Yeah. It's probably like horrific bowel cancer or something, like something just totally incurable at the time. And they're like, this will work. Bring the bellows,
Yeah.
I can hook it up to their butthole
and obviously that's where
to start pumping it.
I mean, that has to be where the term blowing smoke up your ass came from, I guess, which is blowing smoke up your ass means to just compliment somebody and do something. So maybe, you know what, maybe we could look this up, but maybe they knew it didn't even do a thing. It was one of those things where they were just like, just blow some smoke up his ass and tell him he's cured. You know what I mean? Like a hypochondriac, you might be like, I got just the thing for you. Blow smoke up their ass. And they're like, you're good.
Well, again, they still kind of do that with like coffee in them. It's not
Right.
smoke, but you know, people still
Yeah.
put things up their butt that's
Hits.
supposed to hit, and
Yeah.
you know.
One last one here from our favorite mama, Natalie Nichols.
Yep.
Subject line: Katie's Revenge, a limerick. There once was a murderous squirrel who crossed paths with a Tennessee girl. She poisoned his ass, buried him deep in the grass. No wonder she's queens of the hummingbird world. Wonderful. That was
I love
beautiful,
it,
Natalie.
I'll share it with Katie right after this.
Thank y'all so much. We love y'all. Continue to download the episode and tell all your friends and leave us a 5-star review if you haven't. And yeah, just share it far and wide if you like the show. We really do appreciate y'all. We're growing all the time, and that's because of y'all. And stay fancy, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Here's Lydia Lovelace.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trae and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cunt, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at putting on airs, putting on airs, putting on airs.